Hello everyone, my name is Mara DiCarlo. I am the founder of the International Parenting and Health Institute. I am streaming live on our public International Parenting and Health Institute Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, as well as one of our private groups. And today I wanted to share with you a case that came through. I get cases quite often, and this particular case really hit a chord with me because I know that there are so many of you out there that really want to support families from a holistic place. And what happens is you may feel stuck, you may feel cornered, you may feel pressured because a family member who has, let's say, some authority, they may be a doctor, they may be in a parenting or birthing field, they come in the mix and they have opposing views. They begin to share these views with you and your client, and as a result, you might feel stuck. You might feel pressured to then give in and begin implementing a methodology that is not true to you. So I want to share a little bit about that topic. I began this journey, for those of you that don't know, and I'm sharing this with those of you who are new to our YouTube channel and new to our page. I began my journey in 2011, end of 2011, beginning of 2012, particularly training professionals with this holistic understanding. It started out very interestingly because my background for a very long time had been on a path of holistic ways, holistic approaches. And when I learned more about the child sleep and child sleep training, because I am a researcher, I'm open, I'm curious, I don't make judgments super quickly, I like to sit back and observe things, I like to integrate, I like to see how we can work as a team and possibly find solutions from a team-based approach. I entered the world with a very open curiosity, very welcoming to understand, okay, where can we meet in the middle? Where are the extremes in this field where, we don't have room for those because those are extremes and do leave room for high risk. But where can I possibly meet in the middle? So when I entered the field, I was very open to gentle sleep training methodologies, just understanding them, me personally not working with them, but understanding that, okay, those might be some options for people, and everything that was not so extreme. But lo and behold, I learned more and more that everything that I had been implementing and that I had been behind was pretty grounded in a foundation that had a very strong connection to child development, family dynamic, and indeed, while I wanted so much to stay very open and saying, okay, I'm going to come across as someone that, here are all of our options, but before you choose an option, let's go through this thorough investigative process, because this is immediately what I saw was missing from the profession, the thorough investigative process in conjunction with beginning education during pregnancy. Those are the two immediate things I picked up on. I said, why are we not educating expecting families about child sleep? Okay, because it is all connected, it is all related, and it begins during pregnancy. Child sleep doesn't begin after baby's born, it begins during pregnancy. So first immediate thing that I saw, and then of course I began to see and understand that, the ways that people were approaching child sleep were very much assumption-based, very one-size-fits-all based, and quite a bit of what children and families were going through with a lot of the sleep challenges, the root causes were not uncovered. Root causes were missed so often. So I developed my holistic science of sleep method. I introduced it to a number of professionals. Many of those professionals embraced what I taught. Some of those professionals embraced what I taught, but partially. And then what they did is they partially embraced what I taught, and they partially then tried to fit it into this other dynamic of, okay, let me fit it in with these sleep training methods. So long story short, that eventually, I had to definitely put a strong boundary and say, I cannot leave any room for that anymore, because the more that I leave room for anybody to stay open to the possibility of assumptions and risks, there's going to be further problems down the road, and those root causes will still remain uncovered. So then I decided, when I began my journey of writing my book in 2015, slightly before then actually, but really strongly in 2015, I began taking a much more stronger position and hold that, initially the approach that I had introduced and that I stood up with, and everything that I've introduced, I'm just going to continue unfolding that. That does not mean at all that I do not respect parents' decisions. Every family makes their own decisions, and they should. It is not ever in my place to ever tell someone what is right for them, what is wrong for them. Every family has a right to decide for themselves what is best for themselves, what is best for their family. All I'm doing is I've done a lot of research, I have a lot of experience, and I just bring to the table everything that I've learned, as well as the experiences that I've had, not only personally, but in training many, many professionals for many, many years. And I just present all that information. And however people want to take it is completely up to them. But I also honor very much my position. And if my position does not work well with someone else's position, that is not a problem at all, right? That is life. Sometimes you mesh with people, sometimes you don't. And I think the best thing that we can do is honor that we may not always be on the same page, may not always feel the same way. And it's best to trust that life sometimes has people going on different paths. Okay, so let me get straight to the case. I shared this little introduction with all of you because I've been on this journey, this path for a very, very long time, and I've come face to face with a lot of people who have doubted, who just come across and they want the quick fix, they want the guarantees, they want to force a situation. And what I see time and time again is how much more frustration that brings for everybody. And I also want to be an advocate, not just for the child, but for the parents, because most often parents don't understand the intricate relationship that begins during pregnancy, that then extends into the birth and into the family dynamic. That influences sleep. There is a lot of science and research. For time purposes, I'm not going to share that today. I do have a lot of presentations that I will be sharing more publicly soon. I've been sharing them behind the scenes in our organization. Also, it's in my book. But I will be sharing a lot more publicly because there is a lot of research and evidence that does indeed show that the experiences that one has during pregnancy, the thoughts that we have, the expectations that we have, absolutely does influence a child's sleep, 100%. And so it is really important to not only have that understanding, but then to be aware of that, how that is impacting us, okay? So when we have children, it's an opportunity to grow. It's not an opportunity to be perfect, okay? I think that being a parent, many of us learn. I have 2 children, and many of us learn along the way, how easy it is to be criticized and judged, not only by others, but ourselves. And you come to realize at some point, or at least for some of us, like I did, thankfully, that, this is a journey of learning and growing, constant learning and growing. It's not about being a perfectionist. It's not about always getting things right as a parent. It's about, growing every moment and learning from every moment. And when we do that for ourselves, we give our children and everyone around us a gift, because the more comfortable we are with showing other people that we're okay with being human, we're not here to be perfect, we're here to meet every moment as best that we can. Whatever we did not know that may have been a shortcoming or a weakness, that we then find out and evaluate how to support our growth. Once we do that, we can grow and expand and learn, and then role model that for others as well. Okay, so the situation is that there is a 7-month-old child, And the mother of this child came to one of our sleep consultants specifically because she does not work with sleep training. So this client specifically came to our sleep consultant because she said, oh great, I heard about you. You don't do sleep training. I am, very well versed and educated on secure attachment, on child development, and I very much am concerned with my child's sleep. I would really like support. My child is waking up a few times a night. I would really like support with this process. Okay, so this is what the initial intention was. But what had happened along the way is that what was shared with me in this case is that the child underwent diarrhea, reflux, fever, and for about 4 to 5 weeks had been, in a place physically that was not only supportive of the child, but was very hard on the family. And so while this situation was very hard on the family, they also had additional support. As things became very challenging, they then wanted a quick fix, okay? This happens a lot. I mean, honestly, the amount of people that I talk to that say, look, I would easily work with a holistic approach, but one of the things that turns me off to it, or one of the reasons why I end up giving up on it, is because of how long it takes, and it's tiring, and I'm done, and this is also affecting my relationship with my significant other or other family members. It's just too much. I can't take it. Okay? So I feel for these situations tremendously, and this is one of the very reasons why I put a huge emphasis on parental caregiver physical and emotional well-being. And what that means is that when we work with families, we not only focus on what challenges the child is having with their sleep, but we investigate and evaluate the entire family dynamic to see, what things in their day-to-day lifestyle, what choices are they making between nutrition and environment, even thoughts and expectations. There's just a number of things that are happening that could be limiting an opportunity for them to be more relaxed, to be more harmonious or balanced. Now, life is naturally a roller coaster ride, right? It's going up and down, and how we respond to it is key. And so it's very important to understand that, look, it's not about controlling life or trying to prevent every single thing that, may potentially come our way. It's about understanding that there are many tools that we can use to support ourselves and our family. But what happens is that most times the tools are not discussed. The quick fixes are the main focus. The assumptions are the main focus, and they focus on the child. Okay, what can we do to fix this child? So in this case, it was mentioned to me that the terms fixing, we have to fix the child, that this is a problem, right? Fixing problem. So these terminologies are already limiting, okay? And quite frankly, the mom is stressed out, and she, of course, I mean, with a situation like that, who wouldn't be stressed out? So when you're in that kind of situation, before trying to force the child's behavior to change in order for us to relieve ourselves of stress, it's about saying, all right, let's look at the whole picture and what can we do? What changes can we make? Okay, and they're baby step changes, but what can we do to begin supporting the situation so that we don't feel as stressed? So when our child is under the weather, when a child has high fever, what are some things that we can immediately begin doing? What are some choices we can make on our day-to-day during this time temporarily that is going to provide us extra relief, extra support, extra calm? Okay, so it is a whole family situation we're working with, so we can support everyone in that team dynamic. This is not about baby-led or parent-led. It's a team-led approach that I like introducing and working with, because when you are living together in a household All right, you're all influencing one another. And so it's important that we don't ignore one of those person's needs, and we put our attention and focus on everyone's needs in that family dynamic. So what can we do to support this mother during this time? Okay, to relieve her of the additional frustration she's feeling, of the stress that she's feeling, okay, during this time. She has support from her nanny. Can her nanny work more during the situation, etc.? I'm not going to go into too many details because I want to get to some of the main points from this that I want to share, which is how do you handle this family member that happens to be a doctor and comes in and says, look, we have to do the sleep training at this point, and you happen to be someone that you're like, I don't work with sleep training. I'm just setting up the stage for that. So, all right, we need to really start looking for those solutions and to support the situation. Meeting our clients where they're at, acknowledging their stress, acknowledging their frustration, supporting them through that process, and learning with an open curiosity if they have tools, if they have resources. Most times I learn or find out that my clients don't. And most times I find out that they didn't know that there are available things to them instantly that can support them to calm down, to relieve stress, and so on. You see, the thing is we're creatures of habit, okay? And most of us have inherited many of our parental patterns through the way that we grew up. So how we feel about crying, how we respond to stress, a lot of that we have learned through the experiences that we have had and also through observation. So when we find ourselves now in a position where we're having, to deal with a child's sleep challenge or any other challenge from our children, many of us may be unconsciously aware that we are responding and reacting to those situations from patterns, okay? And so one of the things that I do besides providing tools and resources to the families that I work with is I help them to realize and acknowledge the patterns they've inherited so that they understand how to begin reshaping those patterns into patterns that will empower them and don't make them feel limited, okay? Because in any situation, no matter how tough it is, you can take, many people, and you can have different perceptions for that same situation. You can have someone come into a hard situation, say, I'm going to overcome this, right? And they've got like this really strong go-getter mentality, positive mentality. They can keep their cool. They can stay calm. You have someone else that loses it. You have anyone else in between. So, it's interesting because you can take the same exact situation and have a number of different responses to it. And so the question becomes is, how do I want to go up to the situation? And this is what I love about being a parent. What I love about our children is that they are giving us so much opportunity and a tremendous room for growth. Tremendous, okay? It's like, I feel, honestly, it's one of the greatest gifts that's been bestowed upon me because I never planned on being a parent. I planned on taking this lifelong journey to be enlightened and travel the world, etc. And lo and behold, life said, okay, I'm going to teach you about enlightenment through parenting. And absolutely it did. And so it's been a blessing for me. And that's why I'm very passionate about, sharing so much information. I've been behind the scenes for a very long time because I have a lot of people to support behind the scenes. But now, thankfully, that I have more people in my company and my organization, I'm going to be coming more and more forward, sharing a lot more with all of you, what I've been sharing behind the scenes for many, many years. So now that we have attended to understanding the importance of addressing the parents' emotional well-being and their physical well-being, and understanding that it's important to take a look at that and provide them tools and resources so they can meet those moments that are frustrating and stressful in such a way that we can diminish that and we can reduce it greatly and they can feel more empowered. But now what happens when you have another family member that says, look, I'm a doctor, all my colleagues in the hospital are telling me that we just need to do a cry it out and that's it and be done with it, and the child is going to learn how to cry it out, and then here you are as a consultant and you're like, oh my gosh, this is not how I work, and he's a doctor or she's a doctor. What do I do for this situation? How do I handle that? Because here's a person that, you want to absolutely honor and value the amount of time and energy that they have invested in their profession and field. You want to have, of course, a tremendous amount of respect for that, as we should. And you don't want to come across like, oh, I know better than you. It's not about that, you know. It's about sharing different perspectives with the evidence behind it, right? With the research and evidence behind it. So if I'm in a situation and someone has hired me and they know that I work holistically with a team-based approach, and they understand that this is why they hired me, and a family member, in this case, this doctor, the husband, comes forward and says to me, look, we have to go this route. This is what we're choosing. I would have an open discussion, and I would say something along the lines of, would you be open to having a discussion about this? I honor, you completely. I value you completely as a doctor. I understand you have a wealth of value and information, and I honor that completely. And I also have a lot of information, particularly specializing in this field of maternity and child sleep. I've studied a lot of evidence-based research, and there is a specific reason why I chose to work the way that I do holistically, and why I choose not to work with the sleep training methodology. And would you be open to me sharing about that and why I chose this route? Okay, so most times people are open. You will have situations where they're not open. And if there is a situation where the client is not open, then I will just stand my ground and I will say, I honor you and I respect you, but I also have to honor and respect my passion and my approach and this path that I take. So I'm happy to refer you to someone else, but I definitely will need to remove myself from this situation. Not personal to you, it's just that our approaches at this point are not meshing. And I want to respect you, and I want to respect me, and I want to honor both of us, okay? So there is always a very graceful and honorable way to meet a situation where there's differences. And it's really about you as a coach or consultant feeling very comfortable with that and having the confidence to know. And this is a test, by the way. I also feel it's a test to show how much do you really believe in your work. How passionate are you really about what you do? I've been put to the test. I've been put to the test not only by clients, but from professionals, and I'm very glad that I have been, because time and time again, the passion that I have, the drive that I have, the amount of time that I spend, I am scheduled for a 1-hour call and I'm there 3 hours later pouring my heart and soul about what I know to be, very supportive and helpful of a situation. And it just proves time and time again, okay, I'm on the right path. And I have to honor it, okay? And if it doesn't jive with someone else, that's all right. But there are people that it will jive with, and that's all that I need to, concern myself with. I don't need to stay stuck on people or situations that do not align with, my approach and my perspective of working. All right, so that's how you handle a situation if the client does not want to hear or be open to your understanding of the holistic approach and why you don't work with sleep training. Now, if you do have a client, which most times they are, open to hearing you, what you would do is that you would prepare a presentation. You'd prepare, and you should actually have this. I highly recommend, if you don't have this already, have a presentation, because this will help you advocacy for your community, whether you do it in person, online, something that people, if they want to get to know you better, you can have on your website. It's really good to have something put together where people really begin to understand who you are, why you feel the way that you do, what your experience is, what the evidence-based research is, and then people can make an informed decision, right? It'll also give people an opportunity to feel more confident that you're just not talking out of your ass, okay? And that, wow, this person's prepared, this person knows their stuff. So what I would then do is I would prepare a mini presentation for this couple, and I would explain to them through my presentation the many reasons why people resort to sleep training, and how the sleep training may provide a temporary solution, But usually what happens is that other things start to unfold, other problems happen. It doesn't usually get to the root of the issue. Now, I am not saying that sleep training has not worked for some people. I am sure it has. I know it has actually, and people will come forward and saying that. I'm not interested in arguing that. I'm not interested in saying that it does not work, it does not work for some people. It does. And that's another path. And those people that resonate with that, that's good for them. That's great for them. But I am on a path where I'm very, very clear, very confident, and just with all the evidence that I have, I would like to present a team-based approach that is really encompassing the entire family dynamics needs, not just the child's needs, not just the parents' needs, but really the whole family, and puts a huge emphasis on human development, that human development that began at conception and moving on. So then I would put together a mini presentation and I would share it with the family, and that presentation would include all the information that, okay, in medical school, doctors usually receive an average of 4 to 6 hours of sleep education. And in the maternity and child sleep field, or child sleep field, some people don't study pregnancy sleep like we train, there's many more hours involved, right? So it's a specialty. And so not only would I present facts like that, but then I would show them evidence-based research, okay, and share with them the different PDFs and research papers and journals that I have collected over the years, and cover bits and pieces of how the family dynamic has a huge influence on one another, every person in that family dynamic. And most often, because we're so quick to make assumptions, we're so quick to want a quick fix because of our own desperation, we then resort to something that, like, we're going to force it. And so some of the points in addition to that I make are about just child development altogether. When a child learns to walk, we naturally want them to walk independently, right? It's a part of their growth. That does not happen overnight. And even when they do start walking independently without falling down and getting back up, they still need our support during that time. And sleep is a journey and a process. It's not something that happens overnight, and there's so much tied to it. If someone ate in a way that was overstimulating or hard on their digestion, or if they had an emotional, stressful time, or if they're under the weather, that's going to impact sleep. So it's not this, straight like, oh, my child's going to learn to sleep independently, that's it, done, never again they're going to have an issue. No, it doesn't work that way. Sleep is not this just straight line of teach a child independent sleep and then we're never ever again going to have a sleep issue. So, it's things like that I bring up to families. We have an open discussion. I hear them. And when I hear their desperation and I hear how stressed out they are, and I understand that, they need more support, they need tools and resources, then that's what we focus on. So I say to them, okay, what if your child is sick for these 4 weeks, like your child has been? And what if we gave you the tools and resources so that you did not feel as stressed out during that time? You got some rest. You were much calmer. You felt more at peace, okay? So most times when I talk to families and I propose that, they say, oh, wow, I didn't think of it that way. I didn't think of that possibility, because a lot of times we think me versus them, right? Someone has to change. But, oh, can we work in a way where, what if I make some changes for myself to deal with the situation better, versus having to force someone else to change their behavior so I can feel better about myself? You see what I mean? That's what a lot of people do. And it's interesting because just in humanity in general, if you notice, most disagreements usually happen because people are unwilling to see the other side, right? If most disagreements are when people just refuse to get along, it's usually because people are just so focused on trying to change the other person to adapt to their way, okay? To how they feel, to how they think, and that person must understand me, right? And not the other way around. But when we begin to understand one another and we begin to learn that not everybody needs to be like us and respond like us, and a lot of times it has to do with taking care of ourselves, then we learn to have compassion. We become more open, and we understand that, okay, there are times where I disagree with someone, and that might mean that, okay, our relationship changes a bit in certain situations. No problem, but there's no resentment, anger, all this division and stuff that comes up, right? But in a family dynamic, as we all know, it's much more intimate with that. And many of us, like I said in the very beginning, all of us actually we're creatures of habits and patterns, but a good majority of us have inherited these patterns subconsciously, meaning that when we're in these situations, we're not aware when we are responding to a situation with our child, when they're crying, that, oh my gosh, how I feel about crying has to do with how I grew up and how I was molded and shaped and what I went through. And so now I am meeting my child when they're crying with this projection of what I went through. You see what I'm saying? When we begin to do that kind of self-discovery work and evaluation, we begin to learn our entire life changes. Our situation begins to change and we become more empowered. So whenever you are in a situation where you feel cornered, you are tested, you feel that, oh my gosh, how do I face a situation? Number one, remind yourself of why you do the work that you do. It's a test to see how truly passionate you are about the work you've chosen to do, if you truly believe in it. And if you still feel a bit timid and scared and shy, well, perhaps it's because there's something about people pleasing or self-worth. There's another part of you in this self-discovery, not only as a business owner, but as a person, that life is also helping you grow with, okay? And that's what I love too about being a business owner, being a coach, being an entrepreneur, is that it's not about only professional development. We have a great opportunity for personal development, because we're not only put to the test about, how resilient and persistent and passionate we are about our work, but also it is a test of our self-worth, of our belief in ourselves. And so again, what that means is that once you gain that self-worth, once you're firm in your approach and you're very clear what your stance is, that doesn't mean then it's about right versus wrong and I'm better than you and, oh, those consultants sleep train and I don't, which happens unfortunately in every industry, that cattiness that exists out there. It's not about that. It's not about being right or wrong. All right, you stay in your lane, you let people stay in their lane. You just do you and you show up with your passion. And when people disagree with you and when they come forward and they put you to the test, it's a matter of honoring that, hey, others are going to feel differently than me. No problem. I just have to stay true to me and to my work and to what I'm bringing to the table. And I'm going to have an honest discussion with this family about, if they allow me, if they're open to it, an honest discussion about where I stand and why I stand and, am firm with my approach. And then we'll go from there. And if it happens that they continue to disagree with me and they do not want to work with me, then we honor one another and we go our separate ways, okay? But it's not about being above someone else. I see that quite often, unfortunately, in our field. It's not about being better, or one method is better. It's just about how you perceive things. That's it. I perceive things holistically, and that doesn't mean it's better than someone who wants to sleep train. What that means is that I perceive things holistically. I'm very passionate about it. That's my path. That's the path that, I welcome everybody to be on if they want to work with me. And then if they don't, they can, go to something they feel aligned with. That's another path, right? And so that's all that it's about. Well, much more than that, but a bit of it. So I will be sharing a lot more. I hope this helps, especially for those of you that, I know you have such big hearts. I know how many people you want to help. And it's not always easy to go out there and share your passion when other people are trying to come forcefully forward, with how they feel. No, we have to do it this way, and I'll tell you why, and And so it's not always easy to face those situations. But if you stay grounded, okay, and this takes a little bit of work, and it's okay. The first time, you may not find that you approach it in the way you want to. It's all right, but just acknowledge it. And the more you face these situations, you become more and more comfortable with the fact that there will be people that disagree. There will be people that have just different points of view. But do not cave in to a situation that doesn't align with you. You know, don't sacrifice your dignity, your self-respect, and your self-worth simply because someone else has a stronger energy or stronger opinion than you. That happens in life. And all it is saying, okay, great, I respect and honor you. I respect and honor me, okay? And that's it. And then we, move on and let it go. All right, hope that helps. I look forward to sharing a lot more. Thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you that don't know much about our institute, you can visit parentinghealthinstitute.com to learn more. I also have a book out there on Amazon. You can purchase it through Kindle or through paperback called Awakening Through Sleep. A lot of what I shared today is in there, so you can learn more about that. And I look forward to connecting again with you soon. Thank you so much.